favorite shows whenever you want them. KUR, Kutztown University's source for music, talk, and everything in between.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
From the KUR Studio Newsroom, I'm Mike Reggs. Due to poor midweek weather, Peter Staley's presentation on AIDS activism and the Oscar-nominated documentary How to Survive a Plague have been moved to Wednesday, April 4th at 7 p.m. in BAME 145. Also, the food pantry is postponed this week. It will be on Thursday as opposed to Wednesday. For students in need, you can always come to the Student Involvement Office between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and they will make sure that you get some food to address hunger needs and share other resources available. Last week alone, there were 147 KU students served thanks to the cooperative effort between the Lutheran Center, Friend Incorporated, student involvement, and generous community donations. There have been over 450 different KU students served since August of 2017. Once again, the KU Student Food Pantry, a satellite of Friend Incorporated, will be open from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 8th at the Lutheran Center, located across from the cemetery and 2 houses down from admissions. There will be a variety of fruit, vegetables, meats, as well as perishables and non-perishables available. And of course, with that bad weather, KUR would like to remind you that for any timely updates, you can always follow us on social media. Our Kutztown University Radio Facebook is a very timely and important way to follow updates regarding local conditions, closures, and things of the sort. Also, of course, the Kutztown University of Pennsylvania Facebook page as well, the main university Facebook page, but also Kutztown University Radio. We do our best to keep everyone informed. In other news, experts talked with the Senate Education Committee about the best way to keep Pennsylvania's schools safe. Senator Andy Dinniman says their recommendations include more secure buildings and a better sense of community. The story comes to us from the state capitol.
I think we heard today that teachers having guns is not necessarily the answer.
Senator Andy Dinniman says the experts who talked to Senate Education Committee members about school safety say what works is a two-pronged approach. Physically build safety measures into school buildings, and just as important, work towards creating a sense of community in the school.
Because if people feel a sense of community, a sense of place, they're part of it.
The senator says there's one good place to start.
You have to listen to the students. That's, we've gone about education just talking to them and not listening to return what they're saying to us. And if you want to create school safety, you'll listen to the students.
Don Rooney, State Capitol.
Checking KUR Sports, you can follow all your Golden Bears news at KUBears.com. Monsoon Mike says winter won't go away. More snow next week possible. From the KUR Studio Newsroom, I'm Mike Regg.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
Kutztown Live. Kutztown University Campus's Campus and Community Interest Radio Magazine. You can call Kutztown Live at 610-683-4859. And now, your host for Kutztown Live, Juliana Jablonski.
And welcome to Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community talk show. Hi, I am your host, Juliana Jablonski, here with my co-host, Mike O'Mara. Last week, here on Kutztown Live, we spoke to Mary Beth Paluzzo from the Veterans Center. We also heard from Lori D'Onofrio Galli from the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce. Along with her was her special guest, Jim David Heiser from Gerhardt Hartman and Rittner Limited Insurance. If you missed last last week's show or would like to hear any of those interviews, be sure to head on over to the Kutztown University Radio YouTube page and subscribe. And while you are there, you can find all those interviews and much more. And while you are there subscribing to our YouTube, be sure to like Kutztown Live on Facebook. And now, on to today's show. We will be speaking to Bryan Zellmer from KU Presents, talking about the National Dance Company of Ireland. Also, we will be speaking to Justus from the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. We will also be speaking to Deja from the Community Outreach, and then you will be able to hear an interview from Kimberly Meck, the Executive Director for the Alliance of People with Disabilities. Here with us now is Justus from the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Hello, and welcome to Kutztown Live.
Good afternoon, Juliana. Happy to be here. As you stated, my name's Justus. Been here at Kutztown University going on 10 years. I currently serve as the assistant softball coach here at the university, and I also serve as the Student Athlete Advisory Committee advisor.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to tell the audience this is Mike O'Mara now. Juliana voice did not go way down. We're going to talk a little bit with Don here. So, Don, you came to student government about 2 weeks ago. Why don't you, for people that don't know, why don't you inform them a little bit about the process of SAC, Student Athletic Advisory Committee, becoming a standing committee on Student Government Board?
Absolutely. That's something that we're very excited about within our room, so to speak, as far as the Student Athlete Advisory Committee goes and our representatives. We're in the process, obviously, with voting going on now, of potentially becoming a standing committee with the Student Government Board, which will hopefully open up avenues for us to collaborate our efforts as the Student Athlete Advisory Committee with the Student Government Board, which I think would be beneficial in many regards to both sides.
I'm in agreement with you here. What he's talking about is a voting booth open right now. If you're a KU student, you have until March 13th, which I believe is next week, to vote at KUSGB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. There are links in the description for you to vote right now to have the Student Athletic Advisory Committee here on campus become a standing committee on KUSGB. The process is fairly simple. What you have to do is you have to vote. The majority of that total vote, which has to equal 100 total votes, will then be whether or not SAC becomes a standing committee. So again, let me repeat that. In order for SAC to become a Student Athletic Advisory Committee, standing committee on Student Government Board, they need to. Our next guest just arrived. He gave me a nice little wave. There needs to be 100 minimum votes on this KU United poll. Then there has to be a majority of those votes, say, in favor of them becoming a standing committee. Personally, I don't see as to why there should be anyone opposed, because for a long time, student athletes have not been equally represented on student government. Hopefully, that will change. Don, what does Student Athletic Advisory Committee do on this campus?
As far as the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, or as it's known throughout the athletic department, SAC, what we do is we are comprised of representatives, each athletics team within our athletic department. SAC is something that runs throughout the NCAA. It's an NCAA-sponsored and driven initiative where all universities participate in it. And it basically creates a voice for the student athlete. We are involved in some pretty impactful things in terms of the NCAA. We do have a voice in proposed legislation. We have the ability to bring legislation forward. Recently, we were giving a vote at the national convention, the NCAA convention in January, where we actually vote on the floor in terms of approving or opposing any legislation. So that's a big thing. It gives the athlete a voice involved to the rules and the regulations that are going to affect them throughout their 4 years within their time here at Kutztown University or any other institution involved with the NCAA.
As a member of student government, there was last semester a push, and I'm not going to go into too many details, to have student athletes on student government, which is a great idea. However, scheduling, because student athletes are busy, student government members are busy, so you put two people, you take the same busy person and then put more responsibility on their plate, and it becomes even more responsibility. So this the standing committee of SAC here at KU on Student Government Board is hopefully going to act as a really strong and competent liaison for some of the issues that might be afflicting athletes that the student government just doesn't see, because the worlds, though similar in where we are very separate. They're very different. So we're trying to mold that together. We're trying to have the similar perspectives, communicate on an effective, consistent basis. You came to, like I said, you came to a student government meeting, Don, and you mentioned Make-A-Wish, the charitable efforts that SAC and NCAA in general works with. So can you talk a little about Make-A-Wish?
Absolutely. Make-A-Wish is the charitable organization in which the NCAA SAC has designated. Their efforts will go towards fundraising for Make-A-Wish. Our conference has an initiative conference-wide where each institution will raise money going towards Make-A-Wish. That money is compiled at the end of the year and brought forward to the NCAA and then donated to Make-A-Wish. We are the #1 conference in terms of overall donation towards Make-A-Wish at the end of the year. We do a great job conference-wide. Everybody participates. There's a lot of activity going on throughout the conference and at our sister institutions, and some great things happening. We've actually seen sister institutions be able to grant wishes through these efforts and initiatives. So it's a real positive thing, again, not only within Kutztown University athletics on behalf of the student athletes, but within the PSAC conference as well.
I not just as a representative, but also as the president of Kutztown University Radio, there has been significant support from Kutztown SAC Online. Really has. I mean, at Kutztown SAAC is their Twitter account. They are active with the community, and Don, I believe you run it. Is that correct?
I do, and I do obviously have the input of, our student athlete representatives that are, within the room and do a lot of work with SAC with me and stuff. So yeah, we do have a presence. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. We try to support, other committees and other organizations here on campus, and also appreciate the support that they offer as well to us.
And I repeated it. I said it first. I'll say it again here. If you are in favor of Student Athletic Advisory Committee, SAC, here at KU being a standing committee on student government, you have the power to say so. Same goes if you do not feel as if they should be a standing committee. Go on at KUSGB, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Go look for the link. We've been posting it nonstop since it opened. Vote on Kutztown SAC joining SGB as a standing committee. I'm not going to repeat the link, because if I repeat a link on air, no one's going to say it, but you can just go on Twitter right now. If you're a KU student, click on it, sign in, vote. Easy, done. There really isn't any reason why the students, athletes on this campus shouldn't have a significant voice on this board. And one of my it kind of just ties into everything. Student athletes need a voice. Students, do they have a voice? What happens at SAC? Can they get involved with SAC, or is it solely for athletes?
Absolutely. Since we've joined efforts with the Student Government Board and open some lines of communication. We've offered the opportunity for any of those board members to, at any point in time, attend our meetings, speak at our meetings. We've had several take us up on it, which has worked good. We're starting to build an open line of communication. We'd like to further that. So if any students in general had any questions about our athletics, our teams, our community service efforts, they could always reach out to me. Our meetings are usually Monday nights in Keystone Hall, room 129, 7 p.m. We welcome anybody that wants to come in, just maybe listen to what we talk about, maybe ask questions of us. We'd be more than happy to do that. And if we could become a standing committee, I think one of the things not to overlook here is we're not necessarily looking for a exclusive voice within that room for student athletes. We want to further collaborate our efforts on a community service basis, on a campus basis. So we're working with the students of this university and the Student Government Board basically to help each other and join forces and efforts so that there's a lot more good coming out of everything that we do that benefits everybody here.
Working together, not being on an island, communicating. Some words to live by, Don.
Absolutely.
Don, I really appreciate your time here at Kutztown University Radio. You will have our unyielding support going forward for many years to come. Whether or not I am graduating, you will still have our support. I will make it happen, Don. So, Don.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for the opportunity to be here this afternoon, too.
Thank you. We're going to be right back with our next guest, who's Bryan Zellmer from KU Presents. Keep it right here on Kutztown University Radio. We are back here on Kutztown Live, Kutztown University Radio's Community and Talk podcast. I'd like to welcome our next guest here, Bryan Zellmer. Bryan Zellmer is the brand new, I don't want to say brand new, Bryan Zellmer gets the job done. And what I mean by that? I mean that he is doing all sorts of things as the KU Presents director to engage with the student body, to rebrand, to invigorate the program. So right now, we have Bryan here. Bryan, thank you for coming here to Kutztown University Radio to talk about KU Presents.
Thanks, Mike. That was some lead up.
Yeah.
I think we should end it there because it can't.
Yeah, we're done, guys. Next guest. Next guest. We're gonna actually. You know, I have a little something here. I hear there's a new show coming up. It's coming up quick, actually. I mean, there's only about 3 weeks, but 2 academic weeks essentially. So by the time we breathe and turn around, it's going to be here.
Yeah. So shortly after spring break.
Yeah. Wednesday, March 28th at 7:30 p.m. Who's coming?
Well, we have the National Dance Company of Ireland. They're going to be doing this big show. You've probably seen these types of shows on PBS and other places where it's a ton of dancers and really upbeat, lively music, obviously in the Irish and Celtic vein. And they're doing a program called Rhythm of the Dance. It's just a really high energy, wild, Celtic night, if you will.
I'm seeing inspiring, epic, reliving the journey of Irish Celts throughout history.
That's correct. 22 dancers on the stage. They have a live band. It's a really great,
live band.
Yeah, high production values, all kinds of wonderful lighting and all kinds of things like that. So it's going to be a really good time. The thing, though, if people haven't gotten their tickets yet, we only have about 20 tickets, about a limited amount of tickets. I don't know the exact number. It's somewhere around there. But if people are interested in sitting together, they should really contact the box office directly because, while there are some pairs and things online, the best way is through the box office.
How do they contact the box office?
Well, they can call the phone number. It's 610-683-4092. And or they can go online and look up the information, too. Sometimes that's easier. KUpresents.org.
Yeah. And I see recently you got an Instagram, right?
Yeah. I've always said, okay, I'm not going to say my age, but I'm at the point where I've always said I'm too old for Instagram and Twitter.
You're never too old for Instagram.
And more people my age have been going on it over the last year or so, and I'm like, you're killing it for the kids. No. And I refused to go on, but it's something that's important. We're making some changes. We're going to make some baby steps next year. The planning is done, and we're slowly going to be presenting shows that are going to be for a younger audience, as well as keeping shows that our current audience likes. And so, we need to kind of get into that stuff, and I've resisted till now. So,
well, Instagram does a much better job, I think, at Facebook, especially with the new algorithm change with Facebook limiting page reach and engagement. Instagram is multimodal. There's images, there's text, there's video. that kind of fits into the vibe of what KU Presents is trying to do.
Absolutely. And we're going to be doing some stuff better with Facebook too. We're going to be doing some Facebook Live stuff, and
you doing Facebook Live stuff?
Yeah, we're going to. We haven't yet, and we're going to be doing some Instagram stuff from backstage and different things like that too. So,
and I keep hearing this, and it's not just from you, Bryan, that what you're doing at KU Presents doesn't appeal to KU students. And if I'm uninformed, I apologize. But we had a KUR member get free tickets.
Awesome.
We had a KUR member, and he posted about it on social media. He loved it.
That's great.
He came up to me during a class I had with him and said, I loved it.
Was it the Tommy Igoe show?
It was the Tommy Igoe Berlin All-Stars. Yes, I had tickets. I did have tickets, and I was unable to attend.
Oh, that's too bad. That was a wild time. That was a great show.
I apologize. Capstone research got in the way. Academic responsibilities kill it.
Hey, that comes first. But you know what? Tommy Igoe was great to work with, and he actually did a master class. We often try to get the professionals to work with KU students. So they came to the music department, and Tommy did a wonderful job with some of our jazz students, and it was just a really, really cool experience to sit back and watch that happen. And I interacted with a lot of the students that came to the show that were in that master class, and they had just had a great time. And actually, one of the things that they loved, there was a female trombonist in his band, and one of the KU students who's a female student who plays trombone, I saw her kind of standing timidly in the lobby after the show, just staring at the female trombonist that was in the show. And I said, "Why don't you go up and say hi to her?" And she said, "Oh, I'm kind of nervous, I don't." And I'm like, "Oh, come on!" And so I brought her up and introduced her, and she just was in awe because she had never seen a female musician in that type of band before live. So it was a really great experience, and it was an honor for me to be part of that and see that.
This reminds me of similar. So we talked about it last time you were on here. How a KUR member went to a show last fall and was able to meet one of the people performing, was able to communicate with them. I know someone who's gotten autographs. So the one-to-one dynamic that you can establish as a KU student with these professional musicians,
right.
That's something that does not happen often. And if you want to do it, you got to pay exorbitant amount of money or go somewhere.
Sure,
it's happening right here, and I believe KU students can get tickets to KU Presents shows for $10.
$10, and we're keeping that for next year too. So $10 all shows, and like you mentioned, there's opportunities sometimes to get free tickets even for KU students. So
you just got to ask the right people, talk to the right people, communicate, walk in, ask questions.
And the other thing is, we don't necessarily, because a lot of these extra things outside of the performances, like master classes and workshops, aren't advertised in our book because they're not often open to the general public. But we try to do as many of those, for students as possible, and we'll have a lot of those lined up next year too. So we have to find a way to better communicate and let people know that that's happening.
You'll do it.
You'll get it done. I'm sure. We're people like you are doing a great job helping us. So.
You're the second guest to compliment us. It's not about us. It's about you. We're here to talk about you, Bryan, and KU Presents.
But these things are a great way, like you were talking about, interacting with the artists in a special way, a very personal way that can inspire them and help them grow in their professional career. There's not always a chance in the lobby. We try to encourage the artists to come out after the show and meet our audience, which when they do, we often have long lines and a big crowd. But not all artists are willing to do that, unfortunately. So sometimes you have artists that the only way you can meet them is, in these opportunities for students.
Why don't you plug that phone number and website one more time?
Yeah, sure. It's kupresents.org, and it's 610-683-4092. I'm going to repeat that one more time.
Yeah, absolutely.
610-683-4092.
Bryan's talking a lot of good stuff, and if you haven't already decided to go to this, because there's limited tickets available, based on what he's been telling you, what are you doing? Get on your computer. Call that number he just repeated 7 times. Make it happen. This is a pretty unique opportunity, one that does not come around often, and we're running low on time. But there's a guy coming, a kid actually, a prodigy coming, and his name's Joey Alexander, and that tickets I'm pretty sure are available now. He's coming Friday, April 20th at 7:30 p.m. A quick little spiel. What can people expect with Joey Alexander?
You know what? I could say a million words about how awesome he is and true prodigy is.
I was watching his stuff. It's insane.
Yeah, the best thing that someone can do is just take 2 minutes, go on YouTube and type in Joey Alexander.
That's what I did.
Read the comments from, professional musicians, look at what professional jazz musicians that have been around, big name people, what they're saying about him. And that's better than I can ever say about him. They just don't want to miss him.
Are they doing a Thelonious Monk tribute? Is that what's happening?
That is the major part of the program, yes.
There it is. So I feel like Thelonious Monk. You'll love Joey Alexander because the kid's he's a wonder kid. If that's the correct wonderkind.
And he's coming with a trio, so it's a Joey Alexander trio, and it's just a really incredible experience that people don't want to miss.
You'll be blown away, and you go on KUpresents.org. Go back. What's the number one more time?
You know what?
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. KUpresents.org, people. Okay. Box office over at Schaefer Auditorium. Students, $10 to go to these awesome shows. Make it happen. For everyone else, it's a different price. I believe it varies, but it's usually, what, 30-ish?
In that range. There's some that are in the 20s to 30s.
Keep an eye on your local box office, folks. KUpresents.org. This is an opportunity. Don't waste it. Make sure you do. A lot of work, a lot of preparation goes into these programs. There's usually 6 a year. So next year, if you miss out on this opportunity, don't fret. There's going to be more coming up, and they're going to keep getting better and better and better. So Bryan, thank you for coming here to Kutztown University Radio.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next month, okay, buddy?
Sounds good.
All right.
Hello and welcome back to Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community talk show. I am your host, Juliana Jablonski, and you just heard from Bryan Zellmer from KU Presents. And before that, we spoke to Don Justus from the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Here with us now is Deja from the Community Outreach. Hello and welcome back to Kutztown Live.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
It is great to have you. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Community Outreach is?
So the Community Outreach Center is in the McFarland Student Unit, room 281, where it's basically where all your community service needs are met. So if you have community service hours you need to fulfill, we have so many different programs, perspectives where you can go and find somewhere to go. We have like where you can work with children, where you can go work with the elderly. We have somewhere where you can go feed the homeless. We have a social justice unit. We just have so many community outreaches, community volunteer programs for you to do, but we also have work study opportunities as well.
I saw that the Community Outreach Center is hiring. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we are. So many of our staff are graduating seniors this semester, so we have 5, I think, available positions open. So if you have work study and you're interested in being an outlet for the students to work in volunteer programs, come to the Community Outreach Center and hear more about our options.
All right, and there's a Volunteer Appreciation Week coming up?
Yes, April 16th. It is exciting things are going to happen. We have like shirts and games and free food. It's just going to be a bunch of fun. April 16th, COC to MSU 281.
And can anyone come, or do you have to be a member of the Community Outreach Center?
No, anybody can come. It's for if you volunteer before, we'd like you to come, but anybody can come because maybe you'll want to be a potential volunteer.
All right. And then there is a pretzel sale coming up.
Yes, pretzel sale this Friday. The Pretzel Factory, those pretzels, the soft ones, there this Friday in the sub. Come get one. They're $1.
What time? Do you know?
I think it's all day. I think it stops at 3.
All right, all day. Get a pretzel from the MSU. And then Mañana is looking for volunteers and workers. What is that, and what would it take to be a volunteer?
Okay, so Mañana is an after-school program based in Redden through the Salvation Army. So it's basically where you would go and help kids from ages 6 to 12, where they do like after school homework. You can play basketball with them, or you can do crafts, and I'm basically the coordinator for that position, and I'm looking for students that want to work with children. So if like you're an education major and you need to like more experience working with children, or even if you're a criminal justice major and just want to work with kids, so no matter your major, just come and check it out. And if you have work study, then you can get paid for it, but if you just want to volunteer, you can just come and volunteer.
And is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the community outreach and what it does?
We're basically all about service, so just come and make a difference and you'll love it. And we have nice staff workers like me.
And should we just stop by, or should we send an email if we have questions, or what should we do?
Just stop by. There's someone always there. As long as the door is open, then you're welcome to come in.
And that's located in the MSU?
281.
281, that's right next to the like service desk up there?
Yep, service desk, PSU, and then like the little hall space. That's us, right in the middle.
All right. Is there any just final thoughts or things you'd like the people listening to know about the events coming up, or just the Community Outreach Center as a whole?
Just look out for all of our fundraisers and activities we have, and just come check us out and learn more about our programs that we have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping in today to tell us a little bit about that. It was great to hear from you. I know you were here last semester.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
It was great. And up next, we have an interview that Mike O'Mara did with Kimberly Meck, who is the Executive Director for the Alliance of People with Disabilities. And that is coming up next, so stay tuned.
My name is Michael O'Mara. I am a co-host of Kutztown Live. I'm also the president of Kutztown University Radio, and we have a very special guest, Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Mike.
Who are you, Kimberly? Why should we be listening to Kimberly here at KUR?
I am the executive director of the Alliance of People with Disabilities, and that is an independent living center that operates in King County, Washington, the other Washington over on the Pacific Coast.
Yeah, one people forget, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and one question when I read that title, what is defined as disability?
A disability, according to the ADA, is actually anything that impacts an individual's ability to perform a daily task. So that could be something simple as eating, bathing, learning, listening, looking, touching, feeling. And a lot of people actually have disabilities and they don't really actually think about that they have them. There's several times that I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, well, I don't have a disability. And then I'll get to know them a little bit better and I'll be like, well, you have a disability. And they're not really aware of it. Reality-wise is that disability actually is the impact a condition actually has on somebody's interaction with their environment. And so disability is not necessarily the condition. So somebody could have cerebral palsy or have a learning disability, but it's not the actual physical problem that the person has. It's the interaction with their environment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a really unique way to put it. I like when I was on the website a little bit, it's disabilities.
Yes.
And uppercase is the A to inform you that this really isn't a hindrance. It's really a way. Right. It's really a way to. It's a unique. I don't want to say identify, but it's just a unique way to say, look, I have this. It's part of my life, and I'm going to own it. I really enjoy that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Disability is not something to be afraid of. It's not something to hide behind. It just means that you may not be able to do something exactly the same as somebody else. And disability rights and advocacy is that same way. It just means that We're just trying to make sure that people with disabilities have the same opportunities that everybody else has. All too often it gets caught up into a situation that people think that, advocating for disabilities means we're trying to give special preference or something like that to a person with a disability, but really we're not. Just because an individual has to do something different, it doesn't mean that they're getting something better than you.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, because you have the people. Privilege is a thing. It exists. It's very tangible. It affects everything around us. However, people aren't necessarily aware. They don't really consider that aspect. And they don't really consider someone else's perspective and how they're dealing with something that they might struggle with. What's like a tactic that you use other than advocating very, very well right there to inform?
Well, really, that's the biggest thing is actually advocacy, because there are several types of. I remember when I was in grade school, and we had a week-long presentation that we got to ride around in wheelchairs and use canes and wear blindfolds and earmuffs and all that kind of stuff, and several types of organizations use those methods to try and teach people what it's like to live with a disability. And really, it's not, because
it sounds like you're playing with a disability.
It is, and there's an example that for people to try and understand what it's like to be blind, that they'll blindfold somebody and say, okay, well, here now try and do this, and the individual's not able to do this or whatever task is presented before them, and so then they take off the blindfold and everybody's like, okay, well now you know what it's like to be blind. No, you don't. You have no clue what it's like to be blind. You have no clue what it's like to be living with the disability that individual has, unless you actually are living it and experiencing it. And so advocacy is the best way to be able to explain to somebody the impact how certain decisions have, and policies and rules and regulations have on every type of disability. The Alliance doesn't focus on one type of disability in any specific way. We're cross disability, and so it means we work for people with all disabilities. It doesn't matter what your disability is. We advocate for the rights of you as an individual, as well as the disability community as a whole.
So do you suggest advocacy? Do you suggest having people scratch the surface of the perspective of living with a disability? Do you suggest that's the best way to empathize with the person that they're communicating with, or is there something better that you can think of?
I don't know that it's necessarily empathy that people with disabilities want. We want recognition that we are people as well. And when I say we, I have a disability as well, but most people wouldn't actually notice that. Regardless of the fact that you can't see me and all you can hear is my voice, my disability isn't a visual disability. And so you may not know that the person sitting next to you has a disability. Again, like I said earlier, they may not know that they have one. They might not identify as a person with a disability. And so it's not necessarily empathy and really, in all honesty, not sympathy either that we're looking for. It's a matter of civil rights. And again, having the same rights as every other individual. If we want to go to a movie theater, we want to be able to get into the doors. We want to be able to interact with it as best as we possibly can with whatever methods, which is why, there's audio description nowadays in movie theaters, the closed captioning for people who are hearing impaired. There's so many different alternatives to be able to make things accessible for people. I guess one of the things that an individual can do is to understand that those things aren't something that's supposed to be a negative for people without disabilities. So if you sit down and watch a movie with audio description, don't get annoyed that somebody might talk a little bit over, some of the action scenes. If you see the words printed across the bottom of a television screen, don't get annoyed that they're blocking the view. If you
be considerate.
Yeah, it's all about equal access. Yeah. And it's less about empathy and sympathy and walking a mile in our shoes. That's not what we ask. We just ask you to understand that we want to be able to do everything that a person without a disability can.
and you'll say, and I'm already not you. I'm hearing the critics in my head. Oh, but they can. We didn't say they couldn't. You'll hear that people that don't consider a wide swath of disabilities as disabilities. You see that same argument a lot with different subjects that are politically or culturally divisive. Oh, we didn't say that. Oh, you're just introducing all these new things that I don't understand. That means it's not valid. I see that perspective, and it's a shame because society, culture itself, it's not just one person. It's not just two people. It's a collective.
Exactly.
It's not even a melting pot anymore. They're calling it a mural, I think, is what the term they're using now.
Exactly.
It features so many different people, so many different perspectives, and if you just close yourself off to like 4 or 5 people that I agree with them, you failed. You failed. Mm-hmm. You got to really just put yourself out there, understand a little bit, and it really ties into, and correct me if I'm wrong, it really ties into this idea. It's a term non-persons. We feel it got... you have a baby in the room, you kind of talk like they're not there. Mm-hmm. You have a service worker, a janitor, come in, clean something. Same thing. And that kind of, how you were explaining it made me think, I'm not saying there is or has to be people that think that way about people with disabilities, but if you have someone who's disabled in a room, not even disabled, someone that you might not agree with, someone you don't understand, and choose, it's better to just not deal with it. It's better just to move it in a corner and just, I'm focusing on what I got going on.
Right. And unfortunately, that's one of the things that popular culture does with people with disabilities. I mean, for example, if you need a person who is a person of color in a movie, they find a person of color. Yeah, if they need correct. If they need a person with a disability in a movie, they find an able-bodied person who can act like a disabled individual. If they need somebody in an ad or an advertisement, whether it be print or television media, they find a person who can sit in a wheelchair. They find the most unique thing that I actually was really excited about was the fact that the new Gerber baby actually has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And so it's a move in popular media to not exclude people with disabilities from the whole presence. It's not like people with disabilities want to get out there and advertise and say, hey, look at me in my chair, or hey, look at me with my cane. It's just a matter, again, unfortunately, you where you talk about the fact that we put people in corners and we just tend to not ignore it, or tend to ignore it, is that if popular media and popular culture continue to do that for people with disabilities, then that's going to continue to be the way that things could end up going, because people of color, again, they are representing themselves. People of other ethnicities, whatever, people who are LGBTQ, they're recognizing themselves, they're acting themselves in the part. But people with disabilities, in most often, they're not a person with actual disability. And so it was really refreshing to see that, Gerber went and made that choice. There are some models nowadays who have disabilities. And so it's really refreshing to see those changes, because it means that popular culture and popular media are being able to say that we are people too. We're not somebody to be in that corner.
Correct me if I'm wrong. From your perspective, popular media is not just taking conscious caricatures of what they consider to be a general stereotype or a general personification, but rather actually being, and people use the term politically correct. That's not what we're talking about here.
No.
We are talking about, however, being considerate, being understanding, and representing their audience.
Exactly.
So you do start to see that actual change? Is that what you're saying? Okay, it's only 2018. Took long enough. Slowly but surely, it's happening. I heard a little bird told me you're going to National Council for Independent Living. When's that going down?
Well, I am actually on the board of directors now for NCIL. It's NCIL, National Council for Independent Living. You can find out more on ncil.org. But they have a national conference every year in July. It actually happens to be where I met my husband. But this upcoming year, it is July 23rd through 26th, and it's in Washington, D.C. It's an absolutely awesome conference. I encourage anybody to go to it. It's a way to get actively involved and find out more about advocacy and more about disability rights. There are several different presentations that are done. We have people from the Administration on Community Living come in and talk to us, where we actually receive our federal funding, as well as different Centers for Independent Living staff. They do presentations on all kinds of things. So we have people come in and talk about parents with disabilities, so parents' rights, not the rights of the child with a disability, but if you are a parent with a disability, and the discrimination that they face and how to advocate for parents with disabilities. There's so many times that I hear from a mom that the first person who comes in to visit them after their child's born is not the doctor to see how things are going. It's the social worker and asking, well, how are you going to care for your child? And finding out, well, do you have a parenting plan? Are there people at home to help you? And that's not the way that it should be. We shouldn't focus on, well, how are you going to be able to do the things that everybody else can do? Versus, well, how's your general health? Your doctor should be the one to come visit you.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with that. I look at it in this way, and I'm sorry if I'm being insensitive. You have a lot of people, like for instance, a lot of people do not enjoy animal testing. They actually look at monkeys and they say, look, they're too much like us. We should treat them with respect. Mm-hmm. Why isn't that same mentality applied to, talking to someone regarding something as crucial as a parent to kid relationship? Mm-hmm. It's because you have a disability, regardless of whether it's mental or physical.
Right.
You should have some sort of rights as to what you do in a day-to-day, or maybe long-term.
Right.
It's humanity. It's not that humane sometimes. That's
correct.
A shame.
Correct.
That's a shame. Is there something other? I mean, you shared the website, and it'll be linked in the description. Is there something a college student here at KU right now could do to impact in a positive way?
Well, at KU, there's a student body, obviously, and I actually came to KU this morning to present at a couple of American government classes and getting ready for them to start their section on Congress. And so the reason I'm actually in Pennsylvania is because I came up to visit family after I spent the last week in D.C. And I was on the Hill talking to our legislators, not only my Washington State legislators, but Pennsylvania and Ohio and all kinds of stuff. I've actually had pizza delivered by Bob Casey Jr. While sitting outside during a protest at the Russell Senate building in Washington, D.C. And so I think the thing that's most important for your student body, and I apologize that it's not directly at Kutztown or at KU, but any student body, the age of individuals who are attending college nowadays, on average, is 18 to 24, and those are individuals who have not, in some cases, even had a chance to vote in a presidential election. They haven't had a chance to vote in any type of thing. And so the biggest, most important thing that I think that the student body needs to do is to get educated. Whether it's about disability rights, whether it's about gun violence, whether it's about whatever interests you. There's legislation about everything. And so find out about it. There is actually a website which is legis.state.pa.us, and that's so it's legis.state.pa.us, and that is the Pennsylvania State Legislature website, where you can go out and see the propositions and the bills that are being put out on the House and the Senate floor. You can see when the committee meetings are. You can find out the information about things that are going on here in Pennsylvania. On a federal level, there's congress.gov, and you can do the exact same thing. And if you're interested in finding out how your federal legislators voted, there's govtrack.us. So there's all of these different things that you can do to educate yourself, to find out, well, what is something that's important to me? What is something that's important to my family or to my group of colleagues to advocate for? If you are very interested in something, go out and find out more information about it. And, the thing that I really wanted to point out when I talked to the government classes was, don't think that as an individual, your voice isn't heard. For the last 2 years, for the last 3 years, I've been up on the Hill advocating against a particular bill which impacts disability rights. And, for the past 3 years, it hasn't gone through. But unfortunately, just recently, the federal House decided to pass H.R. 620. And it's unfortunately named the ADA Education and Reform Act. And I'm not going to stand here on my soapbox and tell you about it, but it really kind of negates 27 years of the ADA. And it's not law. But the reason that it passed the House is because the state representatives are telling us that they didn't hear from the disability community. And, it's unfortunate that sometimes people wait until the last minute, or they wait until they hear the cry, or they see something come across, Facebook or social media, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm against that too. But that's why it's important to think about it now and understand, when you get in on the grassroots of things and be able to actually go talk to your legislators ahead of time, because you've educated yourself on the things that they're interested in and the things that they're for. I mean, you can go out and look at not only your state, but your federal legislators' voting records to see, well, hey, this is the district that they're from. Are they actually representing their district? Are they representing my rights? Are they voting in a way that I agree with? And whether they are or they aren't, if they are, thank them and tell them to continue to do that. But if they aren't, then call them and say, well, why aren't you doing this? And, sometimes I admit, I even made the mistake when I first started advocating. Oh, well, I'm not talking to the boss. I'm not talking to the legislator. Those people are great for pics. It's great for getting that picture on social media. And I have several selfies with legislators. And it's wonderful to put that out there that, hey, look, they're actually seeing you. But those aren't the people who actually do the work. So if you have an opportunity to meet with a staffer, to get to know the people who work for your legislator, they're the ones who actually have the time to do the research. They're the ones that have the time to listen to the phone calls, to read the emails, to understand the impact that whatever policy or bill or decision that they're trying to make, how that's going to impact the population that it intends to impact.
Backtracking a little bit. You said the reason why they did not consider the disability community was because they didn't hear from them.
Exactly.
They blamed their constituents.
Oh, I'm not going to go so far as to say that they blame their constituents, because they actually said that they heard from the business owners. And so the business owners are their constituents as well. And so I'm not going to say that they blame. So I'm not going to use the word blame.
Politics.
But it has to do with whoever's the loudest voice. But I'm also going to point out, and I use this example in Dr. Richardson's class, but don't just think that you're one person and that you're not going to make a difference. I told a story in one of Dr. Richardson's classes about the fact that my husband, who is blind, he and I fly Alaska Airlines a lot. And we noticed that there was a recent news article that came out on social media about Virgin Atlantic having accessible in-flight entertainment systems. Because one of the things that my husband Jim and I do tend to be to educate people. So wherever we see something going on that, isn't necessarily right or accessible, we just tend to point it out. We don't get loud. We just try and take an opportunity to tell people, here's what's wrong with this. And so recently Jim flew home from Pennsylvania, and he happened to mention to the lead flight attendant on the Alaska Airlines flight about, it's a shame that these in-flight entertainment systems aren't accessible. And so about a month later, he gets an email from the flight attendant, and the flight attendant says, well, don't think I'm ignoring you. I've taken this up the chain. I'm talking to the operations manager who's in charge of this to figure out, well, what can we do? So Jim goes ahead and he forwards the information from a podcast that we actually happen to listen to. That's the contact information about the accessible in-flight entertainment systems that Virgin Atlantic uses. And so, of course, he gets a thank you. And about 2 weeks later, he gets an email from the lead flight attendant saying, I just wanted to follow up and let you know that Alaska Airlines, starting in June or July, is going to be offering accessible in-flight entertainment systems. Now, that's a small little thing. And I'm not saying that Jim was responsible for it in its entirety, because I'm sure there have been plenty of people who've actually put the word out there for it. But he probably was the tipping point for them to say, okay, we're going to set a deadline and this is when we're going to do it by. So don't think that you as an individual don't make a difference, because it could mean one vote. I mean, the way that our federal legislation is right now, we've got midterm elections coming up, and if you are eligible to vote, vote. Don't sit idly by and think, oh, well, my vote doesn't count.
Yeah, someone else is going to vote. Yeah, I don't have to. Yeah.
It counts. And especially in Pennsylvania, now that you guys have a new district. Mm-hmm. So it's very imperative that you get out there and have your voice heard. They say that the collective makes differences, but no. For a collective to be a collective, you have to have individuals who make a choice to get involved. And so don't be that person who just says, oh, somebody else will make the decision for me, or, I don't need to lend my voice to this because it doesn't matter. I'm just one person. Get involved. Find out about it. This is your government. These are the laws that impact you. These are the things that rule your society and make it how things operate the way that they do. So don't stand idly by while other people make decisions for you.
I agree. I'm a representative on student government. I can't tell you how many times we have someone come in. It doesn't happen too much. Or we have someone speak at one of our meetings, and it's a problem. It's a problem, and we talk about it, and then next week we talk about it. Next week we keep talking about it. We keep realizing that this is a thing, this is being affected, and we start asking around to the students and to professors and to chairs, and this is a bigger problem than we thought. And it started just because one, maybe two students came in and said, look, this is something you should be talking about.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It really makes a significant impact, and it's a very, very small scale here. Right. What Kimberly just told you, and if you're a KU student in general, or maybe just a citizen who is pissed off about something that's happening in your community, find the people to talk to and talk to them.
Exactly.
A lot of people, I hear a lot of times, oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start things. Oh, yeah, how do I do? Start. Start. That's the first thing you do.
Exactly. It's as simple as Googling. Google it. And I can guarantee you, if you Google Pennsylvania state legislators, you will see every single one of your legislators' websites pop up. Yeah. Click on them. There's a contact me button. Click on the contact me button. You can try and schedule a meeting for them while they're in district. You can try and send an email. They read these things. And again, it's not them who read them. It's the staffers. And that's why it's important to talk to the people who can actually get that information to your legislator. It doesn't necessarily have to be government either. If you want to see a change even here on campus, find out who you need to talk to. Tell them about it. Tell them why it's a problem. And that's one of the key things. That is one of the biggest key things, because you can't just go and say, this is a problem.
And then stop.
Yeah. You have to say, this is a problem because this is the impact that it creates or that it causes. And so therefore, you're actually providing the story behind why it's a problem. Unfortunately, all too often, people want to complain, and I said
Not
it
constructive.
Exactly. I said it in Dr. Richardson's class as well. Let me see if I say it correctly. Not all protesting is advocacy. Wait, no, it's backwards. Not all.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University. You will hear the rest of that interview on Kutztown University Radio's YouTube page with Kimberly Meck. That's a phenomenal interview. I want to thank Kimberly for coming here, because I did not expect the breadth and depth of that interview. I did not expect her cadence. I did not expect her passion for the topic at hand. However, we are running low on time, so I wanted to make a quick shout out to Kutztown University Radio. We did something we've never done before. We brought home 8 trophies at the Intercollegiate Broadcast System Awards in New York City this weekend from March 2nd to March 4th. We won Best Music and Playlist Selection and won Best Music Specialty Show. Myself, I was nominated, surprise nominated, for Best Social Media Director in the country. I did not win, which I'm fine with because it was a surprise nonetheless. And I just wanted to, again, tell everyone who is in Kutztown University Radio, you did phenomenal. We did better than we've ever done, and we will continue to do better than we've ever done.
Kutztown
For that,
Live.
my name is Michael O'Mara. You've listened to Kutztown Live here on KUR.
Kutztown
For all things KUR,
University
use hashtag
Campus and Community
KURadio.
Interest Radio Magazine.
The radio voice of Kutztown University. On air at 1670 AM. Streaming online at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. At select times of the day on Service Electric, Berks Channel 24. Hometown Utelecom Channel 191. Service Electric Lehigh Channel 266. On your smartphone using a free app like TuneIn. You can listen to KUR anywhere you have a phone. Like that landline, just by dialing 563-999-3101. You can also hear your favorite KURadio programming at any time on Mixcloud.com/KURadio.